year now, and I've heard some seriously interesting statements from people who aren't plant based. And honestly, they're a little surprised when they see that I'm plant based. But I'm just going to go over three of the most ignorant things that I've heard from people who aren't plant based to me after I tell them that I'm vegan. All right. So this first one happened from when I was commenting on this like bodybuilder's picture, right? He had a picture of himself and he said, I eat 3,200 calories and I have over, 100 or like I have 180 grams of protein per day. And so I commented on him. I said, "Hey, like that's interesting. That's relatively low considering I'm vegan and I eat around 4,000 and I get about 250 grams of protein per day." And you should have seen the hate. Oh my gosh! Bam, 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 bam. And like literally, all I was doing was giving him my stats, right? And so this one guy, I'll never forget, probably the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. And I've actually heard it since then. And what it was is what he said is he said, I'm going to eat twice as much meat. So I cancel out your footprint, like what your ability to help the environment, basically. So, first of all, that straight up just doesn't make sense. Second of all, that's just some toxic masculinity thinking that, oh, I'm so masculine, I'm gonna eat more meat. I'm gonna eat twice as much meat as any human, which go ahead and try because I eat over 4,000 calories a day. I don't know one person that's not a professional bodybuilder that eats that much, and I'm vegan. So, anyway, that is just ridiculous. So, good luck trying to eat 8,000 calories, buddy. But, like, how ignorant is that statement? Like, first of all, it's like it's the same kinda situation as so, like, let's say I try to recycle as much as I can, right? I'm recycling all my stuff. Let's say recycling actually worked, because most recycling doesn't even actually work. Let's just say it works, and actually the recycled material goes into other materials. And this guy's like, "You know what? I'm gonna put twice as much trash in the trash so that your recycling doesn't even fucking count." That's kind of the same exact statement as this ignorant man who's calling me out when I'm just giving him the stats. I'm not saying you guys should eat meat. You guys are, or you guys shouldn't eat meat. You should eat plants. You guys are wolves. No, I'm just saying, hey, look, this is my stats. Done. Anyway, first statement, the worst, probably the worst one. I want to start it up with the worst or the best, however you want to fit, however you want to look at it, is I'm gonna eat twice as much meat, so your impact doesn't do shit. Terrible statement. Never say that to a vegan or a vegetarian, especially someone who's going to blow up. I didn't. I just kind of let it go because it was just so ignorant. Anyway, let's skip on to the second one. I could talk about that one all day. The second one I've heard is you don't drink or eat meat. Oh, you're missing out. You're missing out. Okay. So I wanted to go ahead and like give you the setting here. This was a bellman who told me this, an out of shape bellman who literally looked like he'd never lifted a weight or ever watched what he's eaten. So it's like, I'm missing out on what? Obesity, type 2 diabetes, alcohol abuse, CPAP machines. Like that's probably within his history or even his future, right? And I don't want to wish that on him, but somebody who's like just in that state where they think like eating meat and drinking booze is like luxury and what everybody should do in order to have a good time, you never know. I really hope him the best. But that was, I would say, probably the second most ignorant thing I've ever heard to a plant based person. And granted, I'm not somebody who's like, "Oh, you eat meat? Oh, that's so gross. Oh, do you know that it's such so bad for the environment?" Like, I'm not one of those kind of dudes. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna get jacked and be a vegan, and people are gonna be surprised. And they're gonna be like, "What do you eat?" And I say, "I eat plants." Like a fucking gorilla. That's how I want to make the impact. Instead of saying, "Oh, you guys should do." No, who's gonna actually take somebody's advice if somebody's pointing fingers and telling somebody you should do something? Never gonna happen. When you lead by example and people are like, "Holy shit, how did you get that? I want to be like you." That's when you make a difference. All right, third one. Vegans don't get enough protein. You would be way bigger if you ate meat. Really, really. I would love for somebody to ask me that question or say that statement right now because I would go ahead and say, really, like, how many grams of protein do you eat a day? Most likely, they would say, I have no fucking idea. And then I'll say, okay, cool. How much do you weigh? Oh, like 190, 200. Oh, sweet. So I eat over your body weight in grams of protein every day as a vegan. How about you? And that's basically 100% plants. So, and most people like have no, they don't even know how much 200 grams of protein is. So I'll give you just a general consensus of what you want to do as a bodybuilder to build muscle. And this is like almost like bro science, but it's easy to remember. If you are looking to your goal weight, whatever it might be, let's say you're building muscle, like right now I weigh 185. My goal weight is 195, but I eat about 250 grams, 230, 250 grams of protein a day. So you want to eat your goal body weight in grams of protein, right? And I go over, and that's good. It's not, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's better to go over than it is to go under. Because if you go under, then it'll be more difficult to gain muscle and gain mass, right? So those are the three ones. The first one, I'm gonna eat double the amount of meat, so you don't make a difference. Two is, oh, you don't eat meat or drink, you're missing out. Three is vegans don't get enough protein. Now, I never really kind of touched on this, but why am I vegan in the first place? Well, it's a long story. I'm not gonna tell you the whole story. What basically happened when this dude like ran over this deer, and I was just like, I saw this hunting and I saw this lamb, and it was like being shaved, and people were like showcasing it for how great the meat was. And this little kid was posing next to it before it gets slaughtered. I was like, I just don't like that. I don't like people going out and exotic hunting and hunting like bears and hunting tigers and hunting like giraffes. It doesn't sit well with me, right? It just doesn't sit well with me. So that kind of started. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could just go more plant based, and everything kind of sparked that when I was traveling around the states. But to be real, at least like now, like that started it, right? But to be real, like now, like I just don't support the meat industry. I don't support the slaughterhouses. I don't support like having all these cows compacted in these little tiny cells and then getting their calves separated by their from their mother basically at birth and sucking the shit out of those tits and so they can get a whole bunch of milk. And then the egg industry with these, I don't want to go into it, but the egg industry is like the industry. I don't support that. The dairy industry, like I said before, the farm and fish industry, how it's like just putting a whole bunch of antibiotics and hormones and little shit in the water and polluting the water for the wild salmon and the wild fish. It's just an abomination, the whole entire thing. And I'm not trying to say, oh, you guys should stop or you should not eat meat or not. You do whatever you want. But all I needed to see was it was actually to see it. Like I watched a couple docu-series basically on health, and it might have been promoted by vegans or vegetarians, I don't know. But the thing is like when I saw the the terrible things that it was doing for the environment and the terrible lives that the chickens and the pigs and the cows were living, I was like, I don't want to support that. When I saw them like getting like thousands, hundreds of thousands of eggs and putting them in trash bags and throwing them away, and the male chicks hatching and suffocating and dying, like I don't want to support that. It doesn't matter how big it makes me. Plus, if you give me a gun and you said, go and kill that cow or go and kill that pig or even a turkey, I would be like, you know what? Like, I'm good. I'll go ahead and eat a salad. Like, does that make me less manly? No, I'm just being real. What, like, if you think that makes me less manly, I can get the same amount of protein eating edamame mung bean noodles than I can as killing literally killing a mammal life. So yeah, back in the day when we didn't have access to all this stuff, like sure, probably would like get a bow and arrow and shoot a deer or and like with a bow and arrow, right? But like now we've gotten so good at hunting and then we've gotten so good at like basically just farming animals in mass that it's just kind of gross. And I'm not saying that the vegetable industry, the farming industry for vegetables and fruits is the best either. Like they get sprayed with a whole bunch of chemicals and pesticides, and that's why I try to go organic as much as I can. But I would rather take the risk of the chemicals on the plants than what the hell they do in the meat industry. It's just I'm just not about it. So anyway, I'm not trying to like be like, oh yeah, I should do this or do that. I'm just letting you know what was behind my reasoning. Basically, I went to the reasoning of I wouldn't kill it, I'm not gonna eat it. That's just like a very easy consensus. And like, do I think that I would be bigger as like, bodybuilding if I was a carnivore or an omnivore? Maybe, but is it worth the risk of all the of supporting all the industries that I don't support? In my opinion, no, it's not worth it. When I'm vegetarian slash vegan and plant based, like it's easy to be lean. I have tons of energy. I feel great. So why would I want to give up all that just to get bigger? Possibly, not even 100%. Possibly get bigger. So anyway, just wanted to shoot this on Instagram just to show everyone that, or to explain to everybody that it happens to me, like, not super often, but when I post and there's, like, those, cyber warriors, those keyboard warriors that are like, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that." But, like, if they're in person, bro, if we go into a debate, you're not gonna win. I'm gonna ask powerful questions. I wanna ask, like, questions like, "Yo, if somebody gave you a gun, would you kill that pig? No, then why are you gonna eat it?" And like I said, not to convert anybody, but it just the fact of the matter is because especially with men, where it's like, oh, like I'm super masculine because I smash, a 2 pound steak. And it's like, really? Are you? You see some Instagram people who like are eating like bull balls raw. Like it's just getting out of control. And maybe our ancestors did that. Maybe, sure. But we also have other options. And I like my physique. I like the way I feel better now that I'm plant based. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and comment them down below. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a beautiful night. Much love.